I'm talking about this debt forgiveness business.
Okay,
And the state of Connecticut is the first to move to eliminate medical debt.
yeah.
Residents of
For
Connecticut.
the senator?
No, this is at the state level. Ned Lamont, the governor there. The residents of Connecticut would be eligible if their medical debt equals 5% or more of their annual income, or if their household income is up to 400% of the federal poverty line. So that would be about 120 grand for a family of four. 5% or more of their annual income, or if their household income is up to 400% of the federal poverty line, you can get medical debt forgiveness. The projection is that would be $1 billion worth of forgiveness. Boy, it's really a difficult thing because, on the one hand, you've had a backdoor government takeover of health insurance and medical, by extension, medical care in this country.
Right.
We don't have single payer, but we don't have the sort of competition that a free marketeer like I would like to see. We have a system where the government is always the middleman, the largest purchaser of healthcare services, which is why nobody knows what anything costs, right? This is what Steve Forbes famously said. In most businesses, if you have more demand than supply of a good, that is good news. In healthcare, we call that a crisis. And it's because of the government distortions. And so now you have this situation where you say, well, the government has created these artificially high prices, as it always does. Government intervenes and central planning creates surpluses and shortages and these externalities. And so the artificially high prices, now they're coming in to be the savior. This is student loan debt redux. Mm-hmm. So the one they say, well, yeah, I get the government created this problem and now they're misapplying the wrong remedy, which is what they do. And then you're going to have the other aspect of this. People are going to be on the outside say, wait a second. Yeah, you damn right you should eliminate my medical debt or some portion of it. I see these governments at the federal, the state, local level spending hundreds of millions, billions in places like Illinois and New York on health care coverage for migrants, non-citizens. Where's mine? But that where's mine attitude, where everybody looks to the government and says, where's mine? And I should be in front of you in the line, in the queso line. I mean, it just perpetuates the endless expansion of government and the shrinkage of the individual.
They don't care. It's mia. That's all they care about. Where's
yeah,
mine?
I mean, this is how the state puts people into God's, little acre east of the rock and west of the hard place. Yeah. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined, as always, by Steve Moore, economist, GovZilla author. Steve, thanks as always.
Hey, good morning, guys. And by the way, Dan, don't say I didn't tell you so.
I know.
I predicted on this show probably a year and a half ago when Biden started this idiocy of forgiving hundreds of billions of dollars of student loan debt. And by the way, I don't know if you saw the exit poll in New Hampshire found 78% of Democrats approve of that policy.
Of course.
Just wiping up.
Well, it's the old, Peters, the Peters are 100% in support of Paul paying for everything. Yeah, I get it. Right.
Isn't that right? And so I had predicted on your show that this wasn't going to stop with student loan debt. And I thought the next shoe to drop would actually be credit card debt, but apparently now it's medical bills that you don't have to pay because somebody else will pay. There's enough Pauls out there to pay for Peter's debt. And then, of course, and by the way, the Pauls are me and you and everybody listening to this show because there's no such thing as forgiveness. Somebody has to pay the bill, right? And so you've got medical bills. Now, you've also, I think, because the report just came out yesterday from the Federal Reserve Board, did you know there's $1.17 trillion of credit card debt? I mean, that's a real burden on these people. I think the taxpayer is going to have to help out here and pay those bills. And then, you have a lot of unpaid mortgages. People are having a tough time paying their mortgage, Dan. I'm having a hard time paying my mortgage. I don't know if you'd be willing to chip in to pay my mortgage for me.
No, it's not a problem. I did it during COVID. I did it in 2008, 2009. Why shouldn't I do it again?
I want Steve and Dan to go with me to Best Buy. I got a lot of stuff to buy. I might as well fill the credit card up and then see what happens because I won't.
Well, of course, because this is what, this is the whole point. of what they're trying to do, and this is called a moral hazard. When you do something and then you're encouraging the whole point of this is to encourage bad behavior. So I said this when they did the student loan program. I guarantee you, guys, that no longer will people pay their student debt. You'd be crazy to pay off your student debt. Why would you? Why would you? I mean, the government's going to come along and just forgive it again. And so this has turned into a calamity. Everybody else's bills we're responsible for everybody else's bills. It's going to bankrupt the country, and people are going to rack up more and more debt, and somebody's going to come along and, quote, forgive it.
But they've got us, don't they? They've got the American people being, to borrow from de Tocqueville, they've got the American people fully bought in, more so each successive year, in being bribed with their own money.
Well, there's a reason why the 18 to 29-year-old vote is being dominated by Democrats today. Hey, he's going to write off. He's going to pay my rental bill. He's going to pay for my student loan debt. He's going to. I mean, come on, this is craziness. You know, Reagan said it so well that a big government big enough to give you everything you want is big enough to take everything you've got. This is a trap. This is a road to what is it? What was it? Hayek. The road to serfdom. That's what we're on.
No question about it. I mean, it's just it's depressing because most people don't get it, and then there's so much government largesse being distributed in so many different directions. It's like everybody's in one of those air machines that blows dollar bills, and you try and grab as many dollar bills as you can.
Exactly.
Right?
It's
That's
true.
they put the entire country in that position, and we put ourselves in that position.
Except the people who are actually working and doing the right thing. And this is the thing, you punish. What we do in Washington is punish virtue, and we reward vice and excess.
Yeah.
And and by the way, I'm guilty of this. I take out my credit card all the time now. It's like so easy, right? You just flash that plastic and you impulsively buy things, and then you know what? Somebody's going to come along and pay the bill for you. But who's going to pay our $34 trillion national debt? Who's going to pay for that? The Chinese?
Mm-hmm. So how will that manifest itself, gentlemen? What will happen? They'll just take our houses, our children. How will they?
It means
right.
It means because they're not. I guarantee you, this China isn't going to forgive our debt. They're going to demand payment, and what it means is our kids are going to be working for the Chinese kids.
Rocco and Moose are going to be sent over from Beijing to collect. Biden has been talking in the last several days about big grocery and big candy bar, and they need to be reined in because they're preying on people. That's these prices
They're
that
greedy.
people.
They're greedy.
They're greedy. It's predatory pricing by Snickers and by Albertsons and so forth.
Leave my paydays alone. But okay.
So here's the thing that's so laughable about this. First of all, I love these politicians like Joe Biden, who's been in politics maybe 45 years. He's been in politics, and I don't think he's probably ever really had a real job. And if he ever did, he certainly forgot about that. So I love these people who are politicians like AOC and Joe Biden who keep talking about greedy companies and their profits. It's like, okay, first of all, you go out and start a business and make a profit, and see how easy that is to do, because it ain't easy. 2 out of 3 small businesses fail. It's tough to make a profit, and then if the companies make a profit, you're greedy. Come on. Without businesses, profit is my favorite word, and I'm going to say it on your show. I like profits. That's what makes the world go round. Profits. And they think somehow if a company's making profit, we have to take a billy club and hit them over the head.
And so shrinkflation is not greedflation. So in other words, shrinkflation, is the size of the Snickers candy bar. It's the airlines that are lowering their ticket prices, but everything else is a la carte. I mean, this is being discussed now. This is the way that companies are trying to maintain customer loyalty, but also abide their bottom line.
Now, can you explain something to me, guys? Because this is the part of this I don't understand. I mean, I understand the, quote, greedy corporations. Why is it just in the last 3 years companies become greedy? I mean, we had 2% inflation in prices under Trump. Weren't they greedy back then, or just the last couple of years they've become greedy?
Right. It's whenever somebody is complaining about prices of something being too high, that's where you know corporate greed exists. That's basically the handle of the left, isn't it? You know, anytime you get enough people complaining grocery prices are too high, Snickers bars too high, then all of a sudden that's where corporate greed rears its ugly head.
You two have to understand
gas prices, same thing.
What about the poor? What about the poor workers, gentlemen? Like the poor tipped workers, like in a restaurant.
Wait
a minute. I can't stand this capitalism where they destroy the hard-working worker. What?
I know. Well, you don't understand. Dan doesn't care about poor people.
Yes, right. Yeah, yeah. That's it.
As an immigrant, wait, Dan. As an immigrant,
compassion contest.
As an immigrant, as a son of an immigrant, we had. Yeah. My dad was a waiter at the Conrad Hilton and served his family. Now what's happening to it?
Yeah, it's everybody is entitled to everybody else's money. That's the great thing about the socialist state we're in. You know, I'm entitled to Dan's money, and Dan's entitled to your money, and the more money you have, the more they're entitled to it. And by the way, but this is also going on. I don't know if you're following the story, but I want your listeners to be aware of this. Are you following what the FCC? That's this agency in government or another regulatory agency. They oversee, the internet and stuff. And they're saying there was a quote, and I'm using air quotes, disparate impact. You've heard that term before.
Yeah, of course. It's been
the companies are discriminating against minorities, Hispanics and women and blacks because they're not giving access to the internet to blacks the way they are to whites. Wait a minute. 94% of households in America have access to the internet. It's one of the great miracles of the private sector technology revolution. And they're trying to find somebody somewhere that might not be getting the internet, and that's a result of discrimination. So they're going to sue them. They're going to sue the companies that provided 94%. Dan, you and I are old enough to remember when less than half of Americans had internet. Now it's almost universal. They're saying, "Oh, wait a minute, there's a family that doesn't have it. They're discriminating."
It's remarkable. It's nonstop. I wanted to get your reaction as well to Jay Powell's pronouncement last week. The anticipated 6 rate cuts, going to be more like 3 rate cuts this year. It sounds like. And just what that says, without getting into stock picking, it's just what that says about the overall health of the economy as again, the Bidenomics, they're pushing Bidenomics, things are going well, low unemployment, job creation, inflation's coming down, everything's right with the world, but 75% of the Americans disagree with that rosy picture.
Yeah, Time Magazine, who their second choice was to be Man of the Year? Of course, they picked Taylor Swift. You know who their second choice was?
Travis Kelce.
Jerome Powell. Powell.
Yeah.
Because, of course, he's done such a great job. This is the Fed chairman who took the inflation rate from 1.5% to 9.1%. Somehow we're supposed to lionize this guy as some kind of economic savior. And as you just said, 70% of Americans still say the economy is headed in the wrong direction. Trump has a 20-point lead on the economy over Biden because things were so much better when he was president. And I love this thing. The left is so indignant. This is the latest line from the New York Times and the Washington Post. The reason people feel so bad about the economy is because those Republicans are always trashing it. The conservative media. It's the conservative
rooting
media.
against America. Right. Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah. No. Right. Exactly.
Wall Street Journal is the conservative media to them.
Yeah. Don't you appreciate what I've done for you?
That microphone away from you, Dan, because you're not telling people the truth.
Steve Moore, economist, Govzilla author. Thanks as always, Steve. Appreciate it.
All right. Your days are numbered, my friend.
Yeah. Well, they certainly are in more ways than one. All right, Steve. Thanks for joining us. Steve Moore, join us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.